The Surprising Importance of the Ice Age. This is based on the work of Michael Oard, meteorologist. His book, Frozen in Time, is available still to read free of charge on Answers in Genesis. I recommend you read the whole book. It's in there chapter by chapter very generously. Now, for a long time, there was skepticism that an ice age even occurred. Scientists could not accept the idea of an ice age for many years. The change in climate seemed much too radical. Scientist Daniel Pinnick said it this way: if they hadn't actually happened, the ice ages would sound like science fiction. But now they're thoroughly accepted. Ice once covered 30% of the land surface on the Earth, and it's left its markings behind. They're mostly in the form of glaciers. Ice masses on Antarctica and Greenland remain. The ice caps also existed on many tropical mountains that today do not support glaciers or permanent ice caps. In Africa, there was much ice on Mount Kilimanjaro, Mount Kenya, Mount Ruwenzori, plus on several peaks in the Sahara. This map of the Ice Age is not very controversial. It shows ice where we see it today, plus extended further north and south, significantly, drastically, and of course on many mountaintops. Also important to note, the resulting lower sea levels left many land bridges. Where there's water today, there was a place to cross on dry land, which led to numerous unique migrations. The Bering Land Bridge between Asia and Alaska is particularly significant. The difficulties of an ice age. For an ice age to occur, it requires a combination of colder summers and more snow. Winter snow must last throughout the spring, summer, and autumn, accumulating each year. Most ice-covered areas from the previous map have sufficiently cold winters, but today snow and ice would melt in the summer. Any condition that would cause huge cooling would also reduce the moisture that air could hold. That's a fatal problem in many models. The colder it gets, the less moisture can be held in the air. Also, the conditions imagined for producing the ice age don't usually allow for the ice age to stop, for there ever to be an end of it. Now, modeling. How do we construct a model for the ice age? For just 1 inch of snow to survive summer in northeast Canada, the average summer temperatures in northeast Canada would have to drop 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Drop to 30 degrees Fahrenheit. This is a summer cooling of 20 degrees lower from the current average of 50 degrees. So northeast Canada would have to have summers 20 degrees cooler than they are now in order to keep the snow year-round for it to build up year over year. Many scientists have admitted that the cause of the ice age is unknown. Now, there's an important distinction here. Operational science versus historical science. Operational science is what we tend to think of as science. Using the scientific method, we test and make hypotheses about things that are observable, testable, repeatable, measurable, and falsifiable. In other words, we can imagine a certain result of discovery, observation, or experimentation that would render our theory false. Some very prominent theories do not allow for that. Evolution is so flexible, Any evidence is considered proof of evolution. Now, operational science results in technology. This includes sciences like physics, chemistry, engineering, medicine. That's what we typically think of as science. Now, historical science is attempting to apply the scientific method, but onto things about which there's little or no recorded information about the past, the unobserved past, no eyewitness observations. Think about a scientist doing work in a lab. They record every step, everything they do, every ingredient, both what goes into what they're doing and what is produced. All that is gone when we're studying the unobserved past. Thus, there's more reliance on educated assumptions, presuppositions, and worldview. Now, differences in the above result in different conclusions based on the same evidence. Remember, people with different conclusions on the Ice Age, evolution, the age of the Earth, all are working on the same evidence. But if you start with one set of assumptions, look at the same facts, you come up with one set of conclusions. Assumption A leads to interpretation A. Now, if you start with different assumptions or presuppositions, as in B, looking at the exact same facts, you come up with a different interpretation, a different logical conclusion. But keep in mind, conclusions are based on observable facts plus assumptions plus logical reasoning from those things. So if your assumptions are different, your logical conclusions will be different. Those who believe in the Bible assume that it is true. It is what it says it is. The Word of God, who is there to witness everything and be the cause of everything. Now, Ice Age theories. There are over 60 theories on the cause of the Ice Age. Each has fatal flaws. The general belief, about 10 plus ice ages waxed and waned regularly every 100,000 years. There's a problem. Each supposed ice age lasts 100,000 years, but volcanic dust and gases fall out of the stratosphere in 1 to several years. Most astronomical theories would have ice ages alternating between southern and northern hemispheres, but data indicates they happen together. Now, the latest thing. Now, if you insist on clinging to assumptions that turn out to be false, your conclusions are going to continually fall apart with additional evidence and examination. So you have to have new conclusions based on those same old assumptions. The latest thing in the Ice Age, unless there's something else that's come out very recently, is the recycled climate model. It combines minor Earth orbital variation with cyclical tilt variation. Now, it's an internally consistent model in that it predicts its own assumptions. It shows a logical conclusion if indeed the assumptions are true. And those logical conclusions match what we find. Problems. Oard says they oversimplified in many ways, and they use many estimates for unmeasurable variables. The assumptions are based on unobserved, unverifiable claims about the Earth's past. And it cannot explain increased snowfall with colder temperatures. Because remember, colder air holds less moisture. Now, start with the Bible. Genesis 7 says this: In the 600th year of Noah's life, on the 17th day of the second month, on that day, all the springs of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of the heavens were open. It started raining like it never rained before or since. Now, a biblical model, Oard puts forth, would say there are earthquakes Tectonic movements caused cracks in the ocean floor, that would be the Great Deep, releasing warm to hot subterranean water at high pressure. Now, this is not unique to Oard. He applies meteorology to all this. Warm water evaporated massively, causing rain for 40 days and nights. Ash and gas trapped in the stratosphere would cool the Earth. We're talking about massive volcanic activity. Sedimentary rock laid down by water. It was sediment, mud, before it hardened in layers and became rock. The sedimentary rock contains ash layers, evidence of incredible volcanic activity that has no parallel today. And there is much evidence of ancient, massive volcanoes. The observable, we have Tambora, Indonesia, 1815, one of the largest volcanic eruptions ever recorded and documented. It caused the year without a summer in 1816. There's an unprecedented series of cold spells, chilled the northeast United States and adjoining Canadian provinces. Heavy snow fell in June. Frost caused crop failures in July and August. Now, the time of the flood would have been much worse. Genesis 6 said, "So God said to Noah, I am going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. I am surely going to destroy both them and the earth." God is totally remaking the earth in an act of judgment. What does this mean for the Ice Age? Volcanic ash and gases from the flood would probably take at least 3 years to fall out of the atmosphere, enough to start an ice age. The eruptions would need to continue for many years after the flood to sustain it. Geologists recognize that there was extensive volcanic activity during the Ice Age in all parts of the world. Here we have all the necessary components. In the after the flood Ice Age model, the abundant moisture needed would be produced by evaporation from a warm ocean at mid and high latitudes, not just in the tropics. Intense tectonic activity during the flood and lava flows would add more heat. Earthquakes and rapid ocean currents would mix this warm water with the pre-flood ocean. The result, warm water pole to pole. No ice caps. You'd have top to bottom, no ice, no sea ice, and no polar ice. You would have northwest passages all throughout Canada. Much snow and a different climate. Universally warm oceans would result in a high amount of evaporation. Heat released by the warm ocean and its mixing with the air over the land would result in milder winter temperatures compared to today. The volcanic ash and gases would cause the land to cool during the summer. This unique climate would persist for hundreds of years after the flood, as the intensity of the two mechanisms slowly decreased. That would be the warm oceans and the cooling from ash in the atmosphere. Cool summers plus warm oceans. Heavy snowfall from warm oceans fell over the cool land. Snow cover caused further cooling due to reflectivity of sunlight. The snow, layer after layer, year after year, compressed into ice. Basic meteorology with these conditions predicts the Ice Age results that we find. So if you start with the story told to us in the Bible and infer these conditions logically from that, basic known meteorology shows it would put us into an ice age. And remember, Oard is a meteorologist. Another problem with the Ice Age, disharmonious associations. The Ice Age still had seasons due to changing angle of the sun, just like we do today. Cool, but there were cooler summers and milder winters. Seasonal contrast over continental areas would be much less than we see today, maybe on the order of 15 degrees Fahrenheit, difference between the winter and summer temperatures, less than half what it is today. This would lead to a strange mix of Ice Age fossils that are found today. Cold adapted animals are found much farther south, while warmth loving animals are found much farther north than they are today. Disharmonious associations were the rule, not the exception. In Siberia, Alaska, Canada, and Europe, we see large mammals, small mammals, plants, insects, birds, amphibians, and reptiles, all in places farther north than they are today. We find those fossil remnants. Hippopotamus fossils are found with fossils of reindeer and musk oxen, and hippopotamus very much love warm weather. They are equatorial today, but they had spread northwards throughout most of England via land bridge and Wales up to an altitude of 1,300 feet. Hippo fossils are common in England. There's no secular answer for this. There's been over 150 years of controversy studying these fossils. You see, the secular Ice Age climate assumption is that there was much colder, the land was much colder than present day, which Ice Age, that seems logical, but it doesn't work. Oard's biblical meteorological model solves this problem. Another problem, mass extinction. Most large mammals and many large birds became extinct at the end of the Ice Age. Some animals disappeared from whole continents, yet survived elsewhere. In North America, 70% of mammals weighing over 40 kilograms disappeared. In Eurasia, it was 75%, Australia 90%. All marsupials in Australia exceeding 100 kilograms disappeared. 22 out of 38 species between 10 and 100 kilograms disappeared, went extinct. Also, 3 large reptiles and 3 large flightless birds. Now, in secular evolutionary thinking, this is a problem because mass extinction is only at the end of the last ice age, not all the supposed previous ice ages. And in their model, all their models, there would be climate warming at this time. Ice melting, more land becoming available for animals. The big problem is, though, animals had survived countless supposed oscillations between wet periods and droughts with hardly any extinction. Now looking at Oard's meteorological model, winters become cold at the end of the Ice Age, much colder than today, especially at mid and high latitudes, caused by cooler oceans, which produce drier air, droughts, more sea ice, and more reflection of sunlight from ice sheets. Animals not adapted to cold winters and had migrated north due to the mild winters experienced a sudden change. There was not much time to move or adapt. Also, due to cold winters, less oceanic evaporation, more sea ice, and stronger upper winds, dust storms would be severe on some continents. Severe dust storms likely account for extinctions in Siberia. Woolly mammoths are found buried in mounds of soot, blowing dust. Ward's model also explains Neanderthals. They are found mostly in Europe, Genetically, they're human. They're capable of speech. They're found buried alongside modern humans. Now, they likely had soft bones from vitamin D deficiency, from lack of sunlight, from volcanic ash in the atmosphere. So after the flood, there's much ash in the atmosphere. Less sunlight comes through, which is sunlight that helps us produce vitamin D. And so they would have been vitamin D deficient, as many people who spend a lot of time fully clothed and indoors are today, particularly during the winter. But theirs would have gotten so bad, their bones became soft, and they morphed, sunk into the features we associate with Neanderthal. Again, Ord's book, Frozen in Time, still holds up very well today, and it's available for free at Answers in Genesis. I encourage you to scan the code here and check it out for yourself. Thank you for listening.